Let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the moon up above and that thing called love. After battling squash vine borers for the last few years, we decided this year to get this gutter cover built and added some gardening insect netting to protect our summer squash. And because of doing that, you have to hand pollinate. So I'm going to show you on this bright sunny early morning exactly how to do that. If you garden, you already know that the bee population has declined and probably the reasons behind that. That is why even if you do not have a row covering or insect netting like we've put up over our summer squash, you still need to know how to hand pollinate and might need to do that. Thankfully, a lot of the garden vegetables are perfect flowers, meaning that they have both the male and the female parts within the flower. So you don't have to hand pollinate. Just a gentle breeze can do that. Plants such as peas and beans and tomatoes and eggplant, those are like perfect flowers. I will say though that in the mornings when I come out for my coffee walk, I kind of brush along the plants, the bean plants, and my tomatoes back here. I actually kind of give them a little spanking. You may have heard of spanking your tomatoes. Well, it's not a bad idea just to give the stem a little shake, just to help the pollination, the movement of the pollen in the flower. Now, other vegetables like squash, the cucurbits, however you say that, cucumbers, melons, they have to be pollinated by either a bee or you. Now with the squash, the blossoms are large enough that you'll be able to do it like I'm about to show you. But with cucumbers and melons, the flowers are fairly tiny. So I would suggest using a paintbrush or a cotton swab or something like that if you choose to hand pollinate with those. So let's go on to the summer squash and I'll show you how it's done. Well, checking this morning, all of the flowers that are open are males. With squash, you have male and female flowers. The way to tell the difference is the males are going to be on just a long slender stalk, and when you look inside the flower you will see the stamen with a round anther on the top. The female flowers are going to have a bulge. This one is already starting to develop, but it's not going to get very big because it has not been pollinated. This one here, same way. So even though this flower is closed, I'm going to carefully open it and pollinate it. So first thing to do is remove the male flower from the stem. Show you a close-up. If you look very closely, you can actually see the pollen inside the flower and on the anther. On the female flower, let me set this aside, carefully open the petals. You can see the innards look a little bit like coral, and that is the pistil. So what we want to do is paint the pollen onto the pistil. So to do that, rather than using a paintbrush or something, I'm actually going to peel this flower off the petals. There's actually some pollen right here. And by the way, if you're brave enough, you can eat the flowers. They're actually pretty tasty. Lots of antioxidants. So now opening up, ideally it would be great if this flower were open, but it's not. So I'm going to carefully rub, gently touch, gently spank the pollen onto the pistil. And that is it. With squash, you're going to notice that you have many more male flowers than female flowers. So if you have that situation, you can always pluck the male flowers off, and they are very good battered and deep fried. I hope that was informative. And remember, happy gardening. Bye, and have a good one.